What do you say, guys? Mick Gillespie here. It's been a year, 1 year to the day, that our colleague and our best friend, big sexy Elmo, Brett Elmore, suddenly passed away. And we wanted to do a tribute show to him. So this podcast doesn't have anything to do with Alabama taking on Tennessee. And if you want that, we got plenty of that content on the channel. But this is Jonathan Timmons, who was his childhood best buddy. Their dads were best friends, and now owns the radio station that Brett owned, WJLX in Jasper, and me, Brett's other partner, talking about him, what he meant, and my battle with the depression after he passed away and how difficult that was for me. And Timmons dealt with the same thing. So we just wanted to do a show. It's a lot of talking about Brett and about what he meant to us and kind of how we got to the point where we were and how much we miss him and how we handled depression, how we got over it. So anyway, thank you. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. If something you want to watch it. If not, hey, appreciate you guys anyway. And here's the show. Roll Tide, everybody, and welcome to the Bama Tailgate Show. This podcast is dedicated to Big Sexy Elmo because it was a year ago today that he passed away unexpectedly. And his great buddy, Jonathan Timmons, who is now the owner of WJLX in the shoes of the great Brett Elmore, and me are going to talk about Brett. We're going to remember him tonight and spend a little time with Timmons' cat talking about our old buddy that we miss on a daily basis. So let's do it. Appreciate you guys. Get in the comment section. You have some memories of him. I know he's greatly missed in the comment section on a daily basis. People talk about him. So let's get the show started and let's talk a little bit about our buddy.
They call him Big Sexy, coming at you from the Walker County. Jasper is his hometown. He's known for giving free rundowns. Oh, Big Sexy, throwing out those Alabama thoughts, sneaking out your mom's window without getting caught. It gives you the XPs, but Big Elmo is here to please. Big Sexy Elmo on the Bama Tailgate Show.
Man, I miss that song so much.
It's been a year.
It's been a year. Yeah, right. He designed that, and he was like, "Hey, man, I got something." He goes, "I don't want you to see it. You guys, you're gonna have to trust me." And that's what he told me. I couldn't stop laughing. And then we played it every day because he would come on at the end of the show and he would just go through what was basically the same stuff he was going to talk about on his morning show.
Right.
And I put him underneath me there because he would just bring kind of like a small portion of that to this every day. And it was magic, man. He was such a funny guy, man. So I you grew up with him. I knew him pretty much his whole life too. I just wasn't as close to him back in the day, and I'm a little older. I remember him, and then but once you get to know him, man, you had to love this guy, and he's missed.
Well, he's missed greatly around here, Mick. You know that, right? I mean, he was a larger than life character in the small town of Jasper, Alabama. But yeah, I mean, I can go back to it's hard thinking about it still because being around the station all the time, it's like he's always here with us.
Yeah.
It's like living with a ghost sometimes, but in a good way because
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to run a radio station that he just did since he was like a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been in radio so long, so there's always that feeling of I don't know. I'm just trying to just kind of carrying on his legacy best I can, making this making the radio station um, seeing his vision through, you know, and
Mhm.
you had some of those pictures in there that I'd like some young Elmo pictures, and just I wasn't ready for this. I have this up here. I have this up here in my office, and like, yeah, that was that guy right there, right? Let's see.
Oh yeah, yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
What year was that? 12/31/21 at AT&T
Okay,
Stadium
yeah,
with the Cotton Bowl.
yeah. I think, and I'm trying. Well, he was from Jasper, guys, and when I was in college at Alabama, I was the school rep, and I got to go to concerts, right? And one of the concert venues that when I took over as the marketing guy, I wanted to be a part of was in Old York and Oakman. And so the guy's name was Bull Corey that ran the place. Him and I became like really good friends. He was like my big brother. I mean, give me shit all the time, but he but he loved you and kind of taught you how to be cool. And then and Brett would come with his dad Johnny, who was a radio guy before him, as a little kid, like a
Yeah.
high school, middle school kid, and you'd just kind of see him, but it wasn't you didn't really know him. And then I remember being in the press box. I want to say Franchione days, and hearing a voice like, hey, I know you from Jasper, and I'm like, like who the hell is this? Because now he was a grown up,
Yeah.
And he's like, Bull Corey, man, I know you from Bull Corey. My dad's Johnny, and you know, and we were cool, and but then when he started doing stuff before that, when I for me, I'll let you tell your story. For me, COVID happened. I was going to work for the Cubs. I was good shape, man. Doing some TV and some radio. Planned on moving to Chicago. COVID happened and ended up in Fairhope. And Bull, I didn't realize how sick Bull was, because he really didn't let anybody know. And then I'll come to find out he had cancer.
Yeah.
And when he recovered from cancer, him and Brett started doing a radio show on Sundays on JLX called Bull Corey's Outlaw Country. So, during COVID, there wasn't a whole lot going on. I listened to the show every Sunday. I mean, I'm telling you, like, I was like the biggest fan. And so Bull would tell these stories about Willie Nelson, Marshall Tucker Band, Merle Haggard, Billy Ray Cyrus, all these people that we had interactions with back in my college days, and Brett was his partner. And I thought their show was awesome, and that's kind of how I really got to know Brett as a talent, because I loved that show. I wanted to syndicate it, like seriously, like talk to them about taking that show and
Was
putting it
that good?
on. Like, yeah, well, I mean, like I thought like this show, and at that point, Bull was still alive. And I'm like talking to Bull, and I'm like, we just what we need to do is we need to get you guys on here, and we need to get hooked up with this, and you'll still be out of Jasper, but on Sundays across the country, on every like Duke FM,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that show would have killed, man. It was like, it'd have like Jelly Roll and like some of the newer stuff, right?
That's because Brett was the cutting edge, Mick. That's how
Right. Chris
have I
Chris Stapleton, yeah,
he was on
Tyler
the cutting
Childress,
edge.
right. Like what's that guy's name? Scott Stapp or whatever. It was
Or
just
Jason Isbell,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, like I say, that was a joke. He used to always refer to himself, and he'd tell me and my band what we needed to play because I'm on the cutting of. I'm like, why do you know? How do you know what we need to play? Because I'm the cutting edge, man. I'm the cutting edge of music. I know all of it, and then
he
he
did.
did, and like
Dude, the
casually,
guy,
dude didn't just like sit at home
no,
studying music or anything. He's just been around it for so long, and he took it all
yeah.
in, and he absorbed it, and
What did he
like.
say? Did he ever say this to you? This big head isn't just a hat rack. Like, no, I mean he did, and he knew music. Like his dad had a collection of records that he would talk about, like old vinyl that got sent to the station over the years that they kept that were like promos, and he knew music really well. And they played like Willie and Merle and Hank and all the stuff my dad listened to, and Bull, and then Bull would tell these stories about like they were all true. I mean, well, maybe it fabricated a touch, but
Yeah, yeah.
about him and dealing with rodeo clowns and promoters and having a venue in Oakland where you're not even allowed to sell beer and
Right,
doing concerts. It's a waste of time because you make your money on the concessions. But he did
right.
it anyway. And
Full circle.
you know,
My band's playing at Old York this weekend.
yeah, you guys go check them out. What are you guys called again?
Smashly.
Smashly. Yeah, come on,
Yeah.
check out
But
Smashly.
I remember me and Brett and a couple friends going to one of those shows. This wasn't too long ago. I mean, like, well, I say too long, 7 or 8 years ago. But they did a blues and barbecue festival there, and I think that was probably the first time I'd been there since I was a kid in the old Western town, whatever. But yeah, we took our own booze in
Yeah,
there, and
explain it to them. Explain
yeah,
Old York to people. If
oh yeah,
they
it's an old Western town that's somebody's kind of or that bull, I guess. Did he build it
well, when his
himself?
dad built,
Okay, okay. As a I don't want to call it a tourist trap, but it was a little, something to
it
bring
was a
folks
tourist
in,
trap.
right? It was okay. But yeah, I mean, they used to do shootouts and stuff there. They would stage like well, there would be like a Civil War show I remember going to and stuff there.
Yeah,
But yeah, brought in Willie Nelson and big acts. So like 7 or 8 years ago when we went to that Blues and Barbecue Fest, say we snuck our own booze in, and yeah, we got liquored up pretty good, and Brett got to telling us about this juke joint in Bessemer called Gip's Place. Did you ever heard of Gip
no.
Gibson? Y'all check out the history
Oh
of
wait,
Gip
no, I
Gibson.
know Gib Gibson, the
So he
guitar guy,
played
right?
that. Yeah, he played
Yeah,
that
yeah.
day in Old York with what was it? What was his name? Clay Swafford. He's from Oakman, and I think Bull would have known him as well. He's playing this weekend too. But like I said, we got liquored up real good, and then we all went to Jasper, and I'm hanging out with that Clay Swafford guy, and you wouldn't think he's a rock star, and just by looking at him, because he's kind of a skinny, clean-shaven, redheaded dude. I have nothing against redheads, but
Oh
but
wait, you're redheaded.
I'm not red, I'm bald, but
Oh yeah,
but yeah, I remember going to the Greenhorn with him and Brett because Brett's like, you got this dude's like he knows what he's talking about. He's the real deal. He's been playing around as a session musician for like 20 years. And yeah, that was one of those long nights that turned into days. And we went to Bessemer the next day to the Blues and Barbecue Fest there, and then ended up at Gip Gibson's juke joint, which is like it was in his backyard. It's
right.
it's yeah, the city tried to shut it down. It's an old story, but that dude was like 90 something years old, still playing slide
I
guitar.
remember seeing the pictures of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
there is a
that's
picture. There's a picture
yeah.
somewhere of me and Brett and our buddy Josh going out there. So
He just like you said, like I don't know, like a lot of people are going, man, like maybe if you weren't around for it, you don't get it. But the people that were on this channel when he was on, like he came on, I remember he started. I was like, well, I mean, I probably should lead up to this
how did
because
you get him on? How did he end up on the Bama Tailgate show? Because number
yeah,
one,
great,
we know how big of an Alabama fan he was,
yeah.
and that's what. Yeah, so we'll go from there.
So Bull had asked me over the years to like, he's like, man, Brett's really good. Would you help him? And I used to work for Crimson Tide Sports Network, and I mean, this is going way back. I mean, I haven't worked there in a while. And
Which
that,
doesn't
that
exist
how
anymore. Or?
yeah, Crimson Tide Sports Network, like,
I thought it was like Learfield or yeah.
well, it
Now or
was, but that's what it is, right? I mean, that's just what I did
yeah.
women's basketball and baseball, and it was like jobs would open and they would like promote like the producer to be like the host and stuff. And you're like, what are you doing? Like it was just kind of so weird there. I, and you do women's basketball and absolutely nobody cares about it. And the only reason you're doing it is just to get a promotion, right? And I felt like I just kept getting skipped for promotions for basically no reason. And it's politics and stuff like that. I mean, could sit here and talk about it, but I eventually was like doing Cub stuff, and I was like, I'm not, I don't want to do a decade of women's basketball. And around that time when I was kind of at the end of dealing with that, Bull called me and he's like, "Could you help Brett?" And I'm going, "Man, I I don't really have any pull here. Like they're skipping me. They'd rather put a producer on to be a host than have a host do a host job. Like, like what are they going to listen to me about? And uh so I had really little influence, and I was kind of not in a spot to help him, and I remember being like, and I didn't know Brett back then as well as I, eventually did, because I don't know if I'll ever have a better friend than him. And I hope I do someday, or somebody close, because he was the best I ever met. But at that point, we hadn't gotten close. I mean, I knew who he was. I didn't know how good he was. It was before I heard him on the show with Bull, and I'm like, and I'm just fed up with kind of the, CTSN. And I'm like, I mean, I'm out here calling a game for like 50 people, I got it every once in a while. They'd throw me a crumb and I'd fill in for Chris Stewart on basketball. And the other broadcasters were so protective of their, like, Eli was there at the time, he's not giving an inch. Chris isn't giving an inch, and then, you're getting thrown up like, kind of like blocks, because they'd rather have the producer be the host, because that's not going to compete with them at all. Is my opinion. And, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
No hard feelings, but I mean, it's just a business, right? And so, okay. Time came, and I ended up right around this time. The reason I left there was because Tom Roberts was the guy in charge of Crimson Tide Sports Network. He told me that I could do the SEC network plus women's basketball games. I could get Roger Hoover to fill in for me. And then one day, like, he just calls me. He's like, "You got to quit doing these, right?" And I'm like, "Why?" "Well, because we're not going to let Chris do the men's, and so now that you can't do the women's, right?" So I'm doing games for like 100 people on radio. We can't even get the producer to show up because it's like the local station, right? Like, I mean, every game's a headache. And then I'm like excited about getting to do these TV games that, maybe you'll get 1,000 people to watch. And they want me to quit doing it. And that was kind of for me, the writing was on the wall that this just wasn't the right spot for me anymore. And, how all that came about, whatever, I just do it on my own now, and thank God, and no hard feelings. And so Brett, they asked me to help Brett. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What am I going to go? Hey, I didn't know him well enough. So I don't say I blew it off, but, it was kind of like got away from me a little bit. And then COVID happened, and then Bull's like on here with Brett, and he's telling me again, he's like, "If you just got to know this guy, you two be like this," because he was great friends with both of us. And I heard him on that show, and I was like, "Man, this guy's really good." Like, he's on WJLX, and it's like, oh, I don't know, like, that's the Jasper station? No, like, no offense to that, but at the time, I mean, I'm doing,
None
like,
taken.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm on doing Cubs
Yeah.
games on
Crimson Tide Network,
Marquee,
yeah.
and I'm doing, like, I'm just doing, Crimson Tide Sports Network. And I at that time, I was stupid. I thought, well, you got to be on this monster to be great, and maybe that not necessarily that, but like, so I start hearing him, and I'm like, Bull's exactly right, man. This guy's talented. He's funny. He's got one of the best voices that you'll ever hear. I mean, we still play, and I'll play the open for the tailgate show in here just because we left his voice on there because we don't want to take it off. Maybe call me sentimental, right, Timmons? But
Yeah.
and and then I hear him on there, and I'm like, I start showing up to their outlaw show every once in a while. As like I mean, when I talk about surprise guests, I wouldn't even tell them I was coming. I'd just show up with a case of beer, and we'd sit in that studio and drink beer, and they can't even get me in trouble anymore. I'm the only one alive, which is crazy. And we'd sit in there and drink beer and talk.
Was that at the old studio?
Yeah.
Was that at the old
JLX.
studio?
Yeah, JLX. Like,
With
just,
the one that was off. Yeah.
The old one. The old one.
I
The
mean,
old one.
that's yeah. So the one that
The
was
old
like,
one.
I mean, Johnny lived in that studio at one point. Brett lived in that
Golly.
studio at one point.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, I
He
mean, we
was,
were
you know this, dude.
that
He
was
was,
my earliest experience.
yeah. And he was like in Jasper and Walker County, man. Everybody knew how good he was. I remember being out with him and people
Yeah,
stopping him constantly.
and I remember thinking back. I don't even remember how long ago it was a conversation we had, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to call sports. He especially loved basketball,
Yeah.
and I remember one time he had told me he had sent a tape in or CD or tracks to the Crimson Tide Sports Network that kind of probably could have been around the same time you were handing off or who knows, but I guess I had at that point in my life I had traveled a lot and then came back home, and I hadn't really thought about him on the air. I didn't listen to him a lot, 10, 15 years ago. But he was doing it. He was on 107.7 The X in Birmingham. Everybody knows the X
Yeah.
from the 90s, the X Fest and all that, right? I mean, he was producing there and on, on air late. And I remember that. But then, like say 10, 15 years ago, and when he was talking about, sending in a, uh, a resume basically to the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and I was like, man, yeah, okay, well, good luck with that, dude. I mean, Eli Gold's not going anywhere. But it wasn't until not after that. I mean, it wasn't shortly after that I started listening to him more, like Bevel State basketball, the local community
Right.
college play-by-play that he was doing, and went with him to a county sports, the county teams tournament. I'm like, damn, this dude is good, and like he doesn't he everybody knew it in this town that he was good, but I think about it, and he maybe never got that big shot that he so rightly deserved. And
Hmm.
for whatever reason, like you said yourself, it's a business, and if you don't have the right connections, then you never get there. But
That's what
that
that's
but
what
that
it
didn't
is,
stop
man.
him. That didn't stop him. So that's why he built WJLX to what it was, to what it
Yeah.
is, and
Hmm.
having two stations with covering Jasper Vikings football, Bell State basketball, all the county basketball, high school basketball. He supported the hell out of local athletics,
Yeah.
maybe because that's where he put his energy until if maybe that one big day did come, and
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Well, I mean, I
we're
think
here.
that's what was well, I think that's been the hardest part, kind of well, let me lead it. Let me just keep going on my trek here because I'm getting close because I feel like he was getting there, right?
Yeah,
Like we
no,
so Bull Corey and Bull Corey's Outlaw Country on JLX on Sundays goes from 2 to 3 hours. And people are starting to notice it now. I mean, like it's starting to get like traction because it's a great show.
right.
People are calling in from all over the place listening. Like it's old school radio. Like they would start with the Dukes of Hazzard song, and then and then they'd go from there to like a Willie Nelson song to Jelly Roll to Charlie Pride to you know Merle Haggard to John Prine. I mean, it was just like, and Bull would talk him up, and then Brett would just be the best like lead in, like get him out of breaks. Such a great show. So,
That
and at
takes a
that
lot of
point,
talent, by the way. Sorry to cut you off one more time. That takes so much talent to get in and out of breaks and just knowing how to do that. Because I'm trying to
yeah,
show people how to do that these days, and when I barely know how to do it,
dude,
we miss him
I
so much around the radio station, man.
yeah, and
It's
I mean,
tough.
like I'm listening, and I'm like these guys are really good. And then there's this part of me that's like, man, why didn't I like listen to Bull, and I know, and I kind of blame myself a little bit because I should have probably taken a step back, but then I told you like all this. Then the reason I told you about all the stuff going on is because you know there's a lot of guilt that I have for maybe not saying, telling him, hey, like work on your weight, stop drinking so much, like don't smoke cigarettes, just stuff that I mean, I feel like I'm a libertarian by nature, and that means I'm gonna stay out of people's lives. Like I'm just not me. My grandfather was like that. It's you don't want to be somebody's parent, but at the same time, a year ago today, it was one of the worst days of my life, so it's like you look back and you have a lot of regret. So anyway, but I don't know what happened. Brett and I just like one day we just start talking on the phone and we start collaborating, and it was like after one of those trips to do their show with them, and it's like, this guy's good, and he starts giving me ideas, like like he's like, hey, you should do this, and this would be really cool, this would be funny, you need to do this, like, and so and now my shows, the Bama Tailgate show's taking off, right? We're growing, and we're picking up an audience, and the whole story on that is that, like, I get an email from the station in Tuscaloosa during COVID that they're basically firing me off my own show. Not even firing me off my show. I brought my buddies, Ben George and Baron Huber, brought the show to the station. It wasn't even their show. And then it was one of these, like, you sell your airtime, we'll sell ours. And then the guy that runs the station one day is like, hey, I'll just pay you. And taking that deal was the stupidest shit that I ever did. Like, I should have just been like, nah, we're going to keep it the same way. But I didn't realize kind of what a con man that guy is. And the next thing I know, like, every year he doesn't want to pay, and he's trying to pay less. And, he's just being like, kind of, a con man. And then next thing I know, like, I get an email during COVID, like, hey, you're fired. We're going to bring in, we're going to put an intern on your show that we have here. And those guys are fine. Like at that point, it didn't really matter. I mean, like, now I don't have Cubs. Now I don't have my Bama shows. Now I'm unemployed. Right. So I go from like here to like down here. And that turned out to be the biggest blessing I've ever had in my life, because people started calling and saying, hey, you should do it yourself, because we sell you and we know it sells out. You sell out. You just trust yourself, And that's what happened, man. And like the first few years, I didn't have anybody on the show. It was just me. And we still did a great job. And then now, it's Jake Coker and me, but it was Jake Coker, me, and Brett Elmore, Big Sexy Elmo. And that was when, so just kind of setting this up. So Brett and I start talking every day. And finally I'm like, dude, you should just be on the show. Like I'm going to create a character for you. Like, the audience is going to love you. Now they're going to talk shit for a little while until they get to know you, and they're going to love you. And that's what happened. Like, I remember the first few shows, he's reading the comments, because he was a genius. Like, he could read faster than you. He could type faster than you. His brain worked like right with one hand, because he had one of his hands only had like two fingers.
Shark bite.
Yeah, shark bite. He would make it really awkward when he would tell you that he can't give a thumbs up. You want to laugh too hard. But self-deprecating.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I can hear himself laughing. And that's just what made me laugh, because I can hear him. I'm looking at him, looking at you right now, and it's cracking me up, dude.
It was. I tell this, and you get
that's
this.
That's a sense of humor.
Because you had that relationship longer than I did. I said it was like being best friends with Chris Farley.
Oh.
In his own Chris Farley way. Like, he wasn't Chris Farley, but he was Brett Elmore, and Big Sexy Elmo was as funny as anybody I've ever met. And he would get on these roles where he would start imitating people. He'd start talking about stuff. And a lot of times he would get, and this is how him and Bull became best friends. He would get up in the morning when Bull had cancer medicine and couldn't sleep, or he didn't go to bed. Like, I think it was more that he just didn't go to bed.
Yeah.
He'd stay up all night, right?
Yeah.
And probably not healthy looking back now. Yeah. And talk to Bull all night. And then that's when Bull, became best friends with him too, right? And he'd tell me, and Bull would tell me all the time, like, hey, this guy, you guys would be like this. You got to just trust me. And it happened, right? So when Bull Bull had a heart attack and died tragically. I mean, like suddenly, and it broke my heart. And I looked at Brett one day. I was like, "Hey, I got a spot for a best friend if you want one." And I swear, dude, like, I mean, it was like from that point on, like having a not just doing business stuff together. And I mean, how much of the business did I help you with? Just from talking to him on the
Yeah.
phone.
Right. Right.
Uh, and been in the studio 5 times probably, but just us talking on the phone for hours. He'd get up because I drive in the morning a lot. They just talk to me for hours, and make me laugh. And we'd go over like game plans and talk business and personal lives and stuff. And I just realized that what a special dude Brett was. So, that's kind of where that came together. And then we just came up with this plan. I'm like, look, you come on, let's bring you on the tailgate show like we're doing right now. And you bring your kind of like, because his morning show on JLX was absolutely hilarious.
When he started doing that again, I was so happy. Number one, it was good for him to
Yeah.
get up and do it again. But I mean, like even other, tons of folks in the area were happy that that he was doing his show again because people can talk about radio as much as they want to, and how it's a dying industry, but not in a small town that has so
No,
many ties that he
no.
built,
Yeah.
especially that been in his his personality, his his givingness, man. That dude gave a
Yeah.
lot that folks probably still aren't wrapping their heads around.
No.
So
Well, you're exactly right. But the other thing too is I realized from what you just said, like in Walker County, JLX is an institution. It's the way that you find out the local stuff. You're not getting it from Birmingham. You're not getting it from, as I spilled beer on me.
I did that earlier. So
You're, you're
cat
not
knocked
getting
mine
it
over.
from Birmingham. You're not getting it from Tuscaloosa. You're getting it from from JLX. So you talk wise, clean this beer up.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm going back. I was looking back over here at how many videos and how far back it went. Um, but I remember him coming in. It was when Bama was making their run in the basketball tournament 2 years ago, and yeah, this was after he got out of the hospital earlier that year. But he was fired up about basketball, but he was really fired up about being on the Bama Tailgate show. So he came in. He watched most of the tournament here at my house, my new house. I just had moved into it. Still looks like I just moved into it with nothing on the walls compared to your wall, Mick.
We got to get you fixed
Yeah,
up, man.
yeah, I know. I gotta get some stuff on the wall back
I
here.
used to talk to him. Yeah, he went and found that digital studio.
Yeah, yeah. I could plug something in if you gave me the green screen option, but no. So like that was, and that's why I asked the question. How did it all happen? How did you two get together on the Bama Tailgate show?
Yeah, and so
Because he
anyway,
was
now
so freaking fired up about it. He was so
oh
excited. Like I say, this was February, March, no, March, April of 2024, and he was reinvigorated, man. And it was in a time of his life that you and I know both that personally some things were going rough for him, and he needed it. And yeah, we've had those conversations too about, or this conversation as well about maybe we should have said more to him, but it was at a time where I didn't have to say much to him, when he started the Bama Tailgate show,
yeah.
when you guys were really starting to click and making some waves, man. So I enjoyed thinking about that. It was just a great memory.
It's got this look. We're gonna have to drink one more. Yeah. Well, we we start talking and we start collaborating and we create this character. And I remember, I mean, look, Brett was a big dude. I mean, like, like the outside Brett and the inside Brett didn't match. The inside Brett was just, I don't know, Timmons, like a rainbow, like a amazing aura, like I'd say amongst the best people I've ever met in my life, And then I feel like that was something that weighed on him a lot, that he just wanted to lose weight. And I remember when he was a young, skinny guy, and it was tough for him because, he dealt with depression. He talked about that a lot. And then we start teaming up, and it's like magic, man. I mean, like get on the show every day, and those half hours, I remember being like, hey, we got to probably cut this a little short while you're talking. But he got so much hell from people, like talking about, his appearance and da da da. And I remember saying, look, just give it a little time, because when they get to know you, all that's going to change. And that's exactly what happened, man. Like I said, once this audience figures out who you are, they'll defend you. Like you won't have to say a word about it, because we have an awesome audience, man. Bama fans are the best, but it just takes a while sometimes for them to kind of get who you are. I mean, I've enjoyed watching how they've embraced Jake Coker. He's a great person. Like besides the sports accolades and the championship and all that stuff, he's just a great person. Like the person on the inside. And we can't stop laughing. But it was the same thing with Brett. Like you just get on there and you just crack up. So I remember watching it happen, and all of a sudden, like the comments go from like, can't stand looking at this guy, blah blah blah, to 50-50, 60-40, 70-30. Then all of a sudden, everybody loves him. People are showing up. They want to meet him. He's getting stopped all the time from people. Everywhere he goes, hey, man, I saw you on the tailgate show. Dude, you're hilarious. What do you think Bam's going to do,
Yeah.
That's the part of it, Timmons, that one of the things that has weighed on me so much, and why I wanted to do this show, because I want to talk about the depression that I had after he passed away. And I don't know how many of you are still here. I don't know how many of you are going to listen to this or watch this. But I want to talk about it because I think it's important, and not just remembering him, but kind of maybe helping some of you guys out that have gone through this before. But there's not a lot of times in my career where I've been happier for someone else than I am me, and I guess just because I know how hard I've worked, I know the mountains that I've had to climb to get where I've gotten. I want everyone to succeed. That's always been my thing, but I just want to do better, right?
Right.
But when it came to him and I started watching him have success, right? When people started to get how damn funny this guy is and what a special person he is, and, just his sense of humor, like on these shows, God, I honestly liked it better than my own success. And I remember when we went from doing these shows to the pregame show, and we're at Floor Bama. It's Jake Coker and Ryan Anderson, right? Ryan just got finished in the NFL. Coker won the national championship at quarterback. Me, I've been doing this shit forever. And people were there, and they were hoping that Big Sexy was there. They wanted to meet Big Sexy. They wanted to hear his song, and it was like, God, dude, like, we stopped playing his song because I was like, I bet people are tired of this. Got hate mail. Where's the song at? We wait on that song every day, I hum it on the way to school. My daughter loves it, He's like, would walk out, he'd be at the gas station, and people would like run up to him, and he would be like, man, I thought somebody was going to rob me. And then they're like, hey, you're that guy, That's, to me, that's the hardest thing about him being gone, is that we knew that we were really close to kind of turning the corner with the Tailgate show, which, by the way, was #1 last year in Birmingham and Tuscaloosa. Just go look at the numbers. I mean, and we doubled the R&B station for second. Like on game days, nobody touched us. And it was part of being part of the Crimson Tide Sports Network, because we come on 5 hours before, then they go 3, and our show kicked ass and they kicked ass. It was a great partnership, right? If you want to call it that. And he was an enormous part of it. And when his life ended so suddenly, it was like, I was just like, for years, I thought about how I should have helped him. maybe I could have done more, right? Now I'm doing more and we're doing it and he's doing it and people are starting to figure this guy out. And then, life ended. And that, man, that we got Kalen DeBoer on this show. You got some of you guys watched it. You saw Timmons. He was so damn happy.
So, oh my God. Oh my
I
God.
mean, like it was, I remember saying to him, it was the week after the Georgia win. And we had a two, or no, it was the week, maybe was it the week before Georgia.
It was
I don't know.
before. It was
It was
before
the week
Georgia.
before
I
Georgia,
can
right?
almost exactly remember. I remember exactly where I was, and can tell you where what day that was by looking back. But I was driving home, and I was coming down Highway 69 from Coleman, and so
Right.
I remember him calling me that day. He's like, "Dude, you'll never guess who we got on the show today." Because this was after the we had went through the the basketball season, and I was watching Bama Tailgate show regularly then because he made me a fan because he was on it. I didn't know who the hell Mick Gillespie was, but so yeah, I remember how excited he was.
So we do the interview, and he gets DeBoer laughing, and I tell you, man, like I can't ever thank DeBoer enough for that. And he,
I'm,
one day I'll run into him and I'll tell him to his face, but that was just it meant so much to Brett, and
I'm,
and I loved it, and I, for me, dude, it's like I don't know.
do you remember the first show
I've gotten
y'all
to
did
do a lot
together?
of cool shit, so I was just like, well, it's just another interview, let's make sure the only thing I was worried about was like, let's not have any problems with like the connection bad or like the camera doesn't work or, like it's glitchy, like I'm not worried about the quality of the interview. Like I'm thinking like, hey, we got this.
Do you remember the first show y'all did together? I'm going back through. That's what I've been doing over here. I've been looking through the video history.
Man, I don't even
Have you looked
remember.
that up before? This is the first time I've kind of thought about kind of looking it up.
I don't,
It
I don't,
it may be this one right here, Mick. No, but it doesn't say an exact date. It just says December 31st, 2023. So right before Bama lost to Michigan.
yeah, I mean, maybe.
He's
I
got it.
don't know.
He's got his hair did up. You should. Oh my
He
gosh.
looked good. I remember
Yeah.
when he did that. Looked like the guy right here.
Yeah. Oh, he's looking good, man.
Man,
He's got.
he would do this. I told him he needed to do stand up because he would do these impressions, and they were killer, man. Like one of them was like a, one of these redneck car guys trying to rip you off, and like telling you that your defibrillator wasn't working right on your Chevy and stuff like that. Hey, man, I got to tell you right now, you're going to need a new defibrillator because and he would go through it. It was all made up, right? Yeah, it would have been probably around there, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. Almost
We
two
did,
years. Almost two
we
years
did,
ago, huh?
we did a Christmas, an outlaw Christmas show, which was, for like the Bull Corey, and we've talked about doing this. Like, I wish I had the time to really dedicate where I know every Sunday I could do it just to keep the tradition alive. I just don't know the music and I don't have the stories that Bull had or
Me
Brett.
neither.
But maybe once a year do like a holiday thing. But seeing him like kind of climb was I'd tell you how it would go too. Like our show's syndicated, so we're on a lot of stations. And during baseball season, I'll come do the show. And then sometimes I got to drive all the way through the state to go back to Tennessee to do a baseball game. And I'll listen to the tailgate show in different markets, like this, because it's not on at the same time everywhere. And I remember listening to the Wisconsin show last year, and I heard Brett's like segment 3 times. I listened to the show 3 times, not all the way through, but I listened to it 3 times. And he was by far the best part of the whole show. Like by far. Like he'd come on for like 7 minutes and he would absolutely smoke 7 minutes. Like just kill it. It's funny. He cuts up with everybody. He'd give Coker shit. He'd give Ryan Anderson a little hell, kind of make fun of me, but not really. Like, which I was like that about him too.
Now I just want to go back and watch them all. 'Cause
Yeah, there's
I've got a lot that I've watched over that this past year. And going back further, I can see, I was watching them straight up just looking for Brett.
Yeah. Well,
Looking for those segments, man.
yeah. You had somebody tell me like, and I'm good. I guess I'm gonna let me pull. Let's watch one. I did one where it's basically, and I'll see if I can find it here. It's it was right after he passed away, and I did a tribute show,
Right.
and that's like only 4 minutes long. And look, we're here, so we might as well.
Yeah.
Might as well watch it. So you tell a little something. I'm gonna pull this up. I'm gonna find this.
Um, I'm going back to his experience that he brought. Like you were saying earlier, you didn't know this guy from Adam's House Cat, but just like the audience had to get to know him, and you were still getting to know him too. And all of his crazy ideas, they sound crazy, but they're not, because he has the experience. He's done it before. Yeah, he had just done it in a radio market, so to say, right? So
Yeah,
him being on this platform was a whole new opportunity.
yeah,
Like for him to express his love of Alabama football and college football too, and yeah, I of course, we touched on how much how tough it was to lose him, but how thankful I am that you have him here on your channel forever. We can always come back here and see our buddy, and not a lot of
yeah.
people get to do that. I
Well,
mean,
that's what somebody
I
said to me too. They were like, "Look, you at least you got a chance. You can always go back and watch them."
Bama Tailgate chant.
yeah.
I'm looking through. I'm putting it through right now. I'm gonna find this tribute. Okay.
And it's the same thing with us at the radio station. We hear him on the radio every day. We still play in his radio spots, and so there's been several of our advertisers and sponsors come in and be like, I want to keep using Brett's voice. Don't
Yeah,
change it. And we had a rough situation a few months ago, but that's all been cleared out now. Thankfully, cooler heads have prevailed with that, and we can still hear him. I tell people every day, I think I may have said this earlier. It's kind of like working with the ghost sometimes, but it's funny because I'll be trying to figure something out that I know Brett knew how to do, like the back of his hand. So I'll be like, damn it, Brett.
yeah. Well, he he went through the same thing with his dad, because his dad was on a lot of commercials, and his dad passed away not too long, a couple
Yep.
years before Brett.
And we're still
All right,
playing.
let me play this, and then I mean, why not, right? Let's play this from his open, and then we'll talk about him, because I don't know. This is a tribute to him.
Jasper is his
You hear that?
hometown. He's known for giving free rundowns. Oh, big Texas. Going up those Alabama bosses. Sticking out your mind when you're going without getting caught. Look at you, SB, but Big Elmo is in a beat. Big Texas Elmo on the Bama Tailgate show.
I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like that before in your life.
A lot of questions were raised in the last 30 seconds or so that kind of wondered about.
How's everybody today? How are you, Coker? I can see a big smile on your face. I know you're sporting the shirt. You think, Mick already gave me the nickname Big Sexy, and I think there's some animosity between us. Okay. That's all right, pal. Ryan, how are you? Nice to meet you. Haven't seen you on the show yet.
I'm good. Nice to meet you too, man.
Don't be jealous of the theme song. Everything's all right. We're all friends. We're all about friends. 2,733 times on the finale of American Idol.
Well, I would have told you that you could have been my swing vote, but since you voted that many times, I mean, you actually could have swung me in the right direction. I mean, look, my competition was Catherine McVie. That was no easy feat.
You're right. Yeah, and she was a babe. And both are silver foxes.
Exactly.
Look who comes out on top, man. It's not about the looks. I mean,
It's about the love muscles, isn't it?
That's exactly right. Coach, it's sort of like the Roll Tide Little thing. It's like that movie Vegas Vacation, where Cousin Eddie finally meets Wayne Newton in the casino. It's like, can I be your bodyguard? That you coached in places where there were no Waffle Houses, and I don't understand that. Are you a Waffle House guy? And if you are, what's your go-to on the menu?
You know what? I need to become one, I think. But that I can't say just because of what you just mentioned. The places I've coached, that hasn't been a thing. So, but I had to go out of my territory to experience it. So, I can't speak very well and articulately on anything to do with the Waffle House. But I do know that I need to get that figured out while I'm here.
You need to get that figured out because it's the go-to is going to be probably the All-Star, scrambled eggs, a little bacon, a little bit of hash brown smothered covered chunks. You'll learn the lingo. Fill me in on what this is. National Yucatan Shrimp Day.
I don't know what Yucatan shrimp are, but if they're anything like Gulf shrimp, they're delicious.
Probably from the Yucatan, if I had.
But hey, I got to tell you this, and I probably should show the video. You know, we were talking about the cicadas.
Yeah.
They were actually eating cicadas at the. Here, let me pull this up real quick. They were actually eating cicadas last night at the baseball game.
What?
Yeah. Let me go ahead and put this up for you guys. You reminded me. And didn't you say they tasted like shrimp?
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Oh. Pitch is down and white. Oh, no.
No way.
Look at this guy.
Well,
He's from Townley.
He's an Auburn fan. That's an Auburn fan if I've ever seen it.
Look at this guy. He's going to dip it in his beer. Did you know?
I mean, what the hell? If you're going to use it, you might as well dip it in beer. He's like, yeah, it's better. It's sort of like, I'm not bad.
Tastes like shrimp.
Like, hey, man, you eat these things.
Look at this guy.
He's like, and he looks at the camera.
This is not pleasant. They're showing it on the video board.
Oh my God. I watched that. Yeah, I watched that and I was like, oh my God, I got to show Brett. But my question to you is that Yucatan shrimp?
Oh, no.
Maybe what it is. I don't know.
National Best Friends Day.
Hey, that's you, man. Hey, man, I got to tell you, man, like, I tell you this, try to tell you a lot, but man, I love hanging out with you. Like, you make me laugh. It's like this is more than just a show. I mean, the two of us are like, we talk on the phone constantly. You know, so thanks. Thanks. I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
We're spending the weekend together. I'm visiting, and I'm having a great time here.
You make me laugh like a lot of times. You know?
Sometimes I don't even mean
that.
Today is National Upsy Day.
That's the best thing is when you sent the Step Brothers picture with my faces.
Right. It's great.
Everybody's going, these guys, what are you made this far on the show? Thank you.
Yeah.
Coming at you from the wall.
Oh my God, dude! Like I'm laughing, probably gonna cry. Here
Me too. Where were y'all on location? Where was that at?
He came to Tennessee for a baseball game.
Oh, right.
It was
That's right. Okay, I remember.
Yeah, it was Jimmy Buffett night. You know, like so he had to come up there for that. We got him hooked up. Oh man, it's just still hard to believe, man. I talked to him. This show's out on October 14th. I talked to him for like on the 13th last year for like an hour. And he's like, look, dude, I got to tell you about this dream. I hung out with Bull last night. And I've told you this, Timmons. And he's like, and I was dead. And and I said to Bull, no, he said, Bull, you're dead. And Bull was like, but it's okay, and Brett was like, huh? And then the next day, we talked, and it was like kind of like just a really deep conversation. And I said, hey, let's do the show. And he's like, I don't feel good, man. I don't want to do it today. And thank God that he didn't, because can you imagine? I didn't wake up. I talked to him at 8. He had a heart attack at the Pie Factory in Jasper around 10. I went to bed early. I had no clue. Phone's blowing up. Like I had that week leading to that, I just didn't sleep a lot. And I didn't know why at the time, man. I kind of have a feeling now that you have premonitions on this kind of thing, But that night I slept so well for the first time, and I slept like a rock. And when I woke up the next day and I started checking my messages, it's like, this just can't be real, And it just, I've never encountered anything like that before. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about on this show too, because it's a whole nother thing. Like, and if anybody's, I don't care how long this goes. I own this channel. We're going to be on as long as we want to be, Timmons, because you and I both we've bonded on this, dealing with this in our own way, me going to the funeral and sitting with you and having our, you growing up with him, your dad and his dad being best friends, you guys had a different relationship than I had, but we had the same relationship because we both loved him so much, but to me, I think I kind of subconsciously maybe knew that something was going on, but at the same time, like I was blindsided, if that makes any sense at all. Timmons, you got to unmute your microphone.
Sorry. I was wiping away the tears a second ago. I was trying not to snot into the microphone, but
no, I'm with you, man. I've cried so much too, man. Trust me. I mean,
we've tried, and we've, I can't thank you enough for being a friend, and we, like you mentioned, we've kind of gotten through this together, and our friendship has formed through that, and we go back a lot to saying we wish we would have said something, and so. That's so easy to say, and it's so tough. But with what we've talked about over the past year, and I've still got those friends who are going through rough times, and I see that now. Right. And I have made it a point to say something to both of these friends of mine, and they don't take it too kindly. Or neither.
No, they don't like it, man.
They don't like to hear it. So that's, it's always tough. You don't want to lose a friendship. But I think I don't regret saying that, what I said to my friends that are still with me, thankfully, because they're still with me.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there does have that friend that they see struggling, don't be afraid to say something. Don't be afraid to reach out or just ask, hey, you okay? You need somebody?
And I remember talking to him a few times because he dealt with depression, and I said, so dude, I don't even know. I don't understand. You know what I mean? Like I've dealt with it, but not like him. You know what I mean? It's different, and it's like I've dealt with my own issues, but it hasn't been like depression like that. And then when he died, it was like, I think for me, it's like, I think the way that I handle things is I just work, you know what I mean? Like I just show up and work harder, and I just forget about what's going on around me. I put blinders on and I just get focused. Right. And sometimes that's not a good thing, because you got to deal with stuff. But this was so different than anything I went through before, because I've always, for years, I felt like I don't know why I don't connect with a lot of people. At least I feel like that, right? Like I feel like I don't have. I always wanted a friend like Brett. Just to be honest, like I that's the best way to put it. And Brett got me. Like he just got me. Like I would say, didn't matter how crazy, fucked up, like funny, not funny. He just got it. Like what I mean? Like,
yeah, because I mean, I won't go into detail, but I've told you how he introduced you to me, right?
Yeah, right. Like he just understood me, right?
Like,
Yeah, and so he kind of, and I think part of it was that we were both kind of the spawn of Bull Corey, you know, like in a weird way. Like, you know, Bull was his best friend. Bull was my, you know, like my big brother. So we were kind of like socialized by getting fucked with by Bull Corey, you know, like so, so you have that going for you. So you can take a lot of punches, right? Because Bull's just going to keep punching you until until you learn to laugh at
yeah,
yourself. Like, you got
yeah.
to be self-deprecating. And then we liked the same stuff. Like, so we had the same interests: radio, wrestling, Bama football. You know, I'm a Braves fan, I'm a Cubs fan, but we love baseball, you know. Just and we both like had very high expectations of ourselves. Like, we just expect it to be better than, you know, we always wanted to be better, you know. And and it just worked. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, like, how to explain it, but then that day, like, I remember being in shock, right? And having to go on like go on here and basically say, hey, he's gone, and still not believe it. Like, I went to the next round because I had a meeting. I was in Birmingham for a meeting, and I went in there and I'm just like, I don't remember anything. I remember telling Clint Lamb and Reed Taylor, two guys I really like, you know, like, hey, Brent just died. Like, I'm like doing what I always do, right? Showing up to work, and no matter what. And the next day I stayed in bed and cried all day.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was like that, like you I'm gonna get emotional, but
We
my
talked.
phone stopped ringing, man. Like, I was like, where are my text messages? He would send me these text messages about stuff all day long. And I'm like, I'm waiting, you know? And then it's like, God, they're not coming. And then by the next day, I mean, like, I'm going to his funeral. This, you know, with you guys. I was so tore up, I couldn't even walk up and, like, you know, like do the viewing. I stayed, you know this, I stayed in the back corner because I just couldn't handle it. And I saw him, you know, and I remember seeing him in the coffin, and I'm like, the person that was on the inside is not the person that's on the outside, because he was enormous. And I mean enormous as in, like, bright and wonderful and the best person you're ever going to meet, and do anything. He couldn't, you know this, Timmons, like, he couldn't do the wrong thing. He just wouldn't let himself do the wrong thing. Like, he was going to do the right by people because that's just who the guy was, right? And I remember sitting in there and thinking that, and then for I'd say 6 weeks after that, I was in the deepest depression I've ever been in my life. I mean, I still got up and did shows on here, and I don't even remember any of it. I don't know how the shows turned out. I remember that Lance Taylor and Jake Coker were the two guys that reached out to me, because I told them, I mean, I was on here doing shows with Jake, and I just would start crying. I had to pause the shows.
I mean, in the middle of football season,
show.
you know, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, you know, I'm saying, that's when he passed, in the middle of the football season. We went to his funeral, and then we went and watched the Tennessee game, the Alabama Tennessee game.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so like I can't even, you know, imagine where your head was at. And I got to ask, have you gone back to look at those shows directly after? Just
I mean, I watched some of, I mean, not really, you know, and it got pretty bad. Like, you know, a lot of people deal with depression, right? Because I've talked about it a lot. And I think sometimes people that know me are like, man, this guy, you know, this guy talks a lot about this Brett, you know, and they probably think, like,
they
you know,
know.
Right, like these, but it was just so different than anything else. It was on so many different levels. I mean, it was just sudden. The guy was 41 years old, like, he's my partner. Like, we're on shows together. We're climbing the mountain together. We're setting up things. Like, he would tell me how to do stuff, like what business decisions to make, like when to trust myself and when not to trust myself. He would tell me how things were going to turn out before I did them, and he was always right, which is incredible too, right? And I guess the biggest thing was just he was just a great friend, right? Like, and I loved watching him climb the mountain. And so for those like 6 weeks, it was like every day was dark, man. I listened to the Coldplay album over and over, like, because I drive a lot, so I'm in the car. You gotta remember.
Uh-oh. You did a good one there with that time. That was a good one. I hear some crackling.
I guess I'm not supposed to drink this beer. But the show that's not supposed to take place.
Imagine what he'd have to say about that. I thought you were a professional.
He'd be like, "You're wasting beer, man.
Get your shit together, Nick."
Yeah. But the thing that I do want to kind of want to get to eventually is that after like weeks of just being in this bad, dark place, man, like I just had to wake up one day and say, "Hey, I gotta let you go," and that was a hard thing to do, and I know your experience was probably similar but different, but for me, it was like, I couldn't sleep at night. I was just, it was tormented by it.
My experience has been, completely different from the radio station standpoint of trying to keep that business alive. But no, you're in a position where the show must go on, and in a similar sense. So I guess we're both there, but yeah, with that hanging over, a dark cloud hanging over you, it's a tough place to have a good show, so to have these to revisit every now and then, it's great. Yeah. But yeah, like I say, from a professional standpoint, you do, yeah. And I'm glad we've both gotten to that point to say.
It's just like when like the reality of how permanent death is, and how you got to make every minute count, and I try to tell my son that, like, you gotta, you don't know how long you're gonna have. He didn't go to the pie factory on, a year ago today thinking that this was going to be it was going to go out for a smoke break and that was going to be it,
Right.
But that's what happened. That's how it goes. Like, and, it's like you try to live every single day like it's your last one, right? At least I tell my kid that, try to, and, and I hope that I try to be a good steward of that. And the other thing, though, for me, Timmons, and I've talked probably way too much and probably should let you talk some, but I just feel like personally, I've tried a lot harder to be a better friend to people.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, that, where sometimes it's uncomfortable to say something that like with him, like I probably should have said a couple more things. I should have probably got out of my comfort zone a few times and been like, "Hey, dude, you probably should think about," like he was talking about a couple things that would have helped him health wise. I should have probably pushed those, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't. And now I'm like, the other regret for me is I wish I would have just shown up to his house. I wish I would have just realized hey, you know what? He's having a tough time. I knew he was having a tough time because he told me, but I thought, okay, well, he's going to get through this. And when he is, we'll just keep kicking ass and that'll be that. Because we all go through it, right? Well, don't think that it's going to be the last day.
Yeah. And, back to what you're saying, we've we've been able to let him go a little bit more, and then
Should I get
time.
another beer, Timmons, or you good?
You got a sippy cup? You got something with a lid on it?
I'm wearing one, and I got one on my floor.
Yeah, like say
My
you don't need
Daniel Moore over here's got it all over the place, like just platting everywhere. Like
one. Well, he'd get a kick
I
out of it.
talk
That's
with
for
my
sure.
hands too much, right? Yeah.
That's so true. I was reading a comment a second ago about this guy doesn't know what to do with his hands on one
Like,
of
what
your
am I
videos,
doing?
one of your early videos from like way earlier in the day.
Ah, they talk. I'm part Italian, I guess,
But
right?
yeah, I mean, this
Gee,
this is what you're doing, as the way I see what I'm trying to do, and that's you're continuing to do what Brett loved and to do what he would be wanting to do, and that's continuing your show, and that's in a way continuing his legacy.
oh yeah,
And
yeah, for
I
sure.
and that's the way I see it with the radio station as well, trying to continue on doing what he was doing. Now I'll never be as good at it as he was. I'll never uh, have that voice, that radio voice that he had. But if I can, find a place for WJLX in the local media, and we keep carrying our we keep being an Alabama affiliate. You put a lid on that thing, put a straw
I
or
think I'm
something.
gonna pour a little bit in at a time.
Start beer cheers. I'll put it back
Hey,
in the
look,
fridge.
can I tell you guys this? If you're still here with us, I'm sure not a lot of people will watch this, but this is therapeutic.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I think for the two of us, you guys just, if you didn't know him, some of you guys did. If you didn't know him, like this guy was just phenomenal. He was just a phenomenal human being. Right, Timmons?
I don't. Yeah, like if you want to get a sense of what he did, there's plenty of, well, I say plenty. There's at least two on our that I've been able to recover, but on our YouTube page, WJLX Radio, there's two football games that he did last year, and you can hear him call a football game. If people really enjoy a good play-by-play, then that's good play-by-play. There's plenty of other of his audio on our website at WJLX
Anything that's on
1015.com.
this
So
channel that he's on,
yeah,
you can use too if you
yeah.
ever need it for anything. It's yours to use. But I mean, as a person, like, forget about like, I remember like, somebody would be like, this, girl in my neighborhood's in rehab. And she just texted me and she wants cigarettes. She needs $20. I'm like, what are you gonna do? And he's like, I'm gonna give her $20. Like, like, why? I don't know. Cause I got, like, he's like, I drive to work and I see these homeless people. I gotta stop and help them. Like, he just had this, and he just he would just do the right thing by you.
And he knew how to do them. He knew how to do the right thing. And I've told this story several times. I've told you, but what he did for my nephew after my
Yeah.
nephew's accident last or 2 summers ago. My nephew was on an awful swimming pool accident that's left him paralyzed, quadriplegic, and in the first few weeks, Brett's like, Brett didn't ask. He didn't ask what he could do for us. He just went out and did it. He knew my nephew was a huge Dodgers fan, right? Brett has no connections to the LA Dodgers, but he sought them out and he made the connection. So
Yeah.
he reaches out he finds the PR lady, and reaches out like, hey, this is something we'd love to do. This is who this young man is, and he's a big Dodger fan here in Walker County, Alabama. And she's like, I don't even the correspondence I could go back and read it, but with at the time, all we know is we have just received a video message from Dave Roberts, manager of the LA Dodgers, and Brett made that happen, man.
Yeah, he did.
And something
Your nephew was a hell of a
something
ball
little.
player too.
That's right. That's right. And that's just that's one thing. That's one thing he did. And like you said, from reaching out to the LA Dodgers to buying a pack of smokes for his neighbor. He was doing everything in between that scope. That's
Man,
that's how good he was. That's how
I
good he was.
I know, like it's hard not to cry and laugh at the same time.
That's what I have to do. I
And
have to.
I I've got a couple really, really good friends, and one of them's the president of the baseball team I work at, and we've been friends forever. And I remember when, and I was like, man, I kept talking about Brett. Like I'm like, man, this is my guy, man. Like and he came and Chris met him. He's like, that's good, dude, man. He's so good. He's so funny. Like you could not like him. Like you just could it was amazing how fast the people around me were like, oh yeah, I get this. And I see how you two are like, like stepbrothers. Like it's just, like I'm gonna come in with mine and he's gonna come in with him and we're just gonna
You're getting the one too, no matter what.
Oh man, like that is the hardest thing to like kind of just deal with, because if I was friends with you, Brett was friends with you, and I didn't like you, he didn't like you. Like it's the way it was, right? And then on a daily basis, just being able to ask him about, about career stuff and family stuff, and we had this Bull Corey sense of humor, because we just grew up. I grew up with Bull. Bull's one of the biggest influences in my life. I'll tell you guys this, if you're even still here. I wrote a book during COVID. I when the baseball closed, I finally got into where I thought I wanted to be. Maybe not where God wanted me to be, but where I wanted to be. And up in Fairhope, where I live now. And I was just coming down to write a book. I just wanted to, give me like COVID shutting everything down. I want to write a book about how I got to do, Harry Carey's job, even if it's just for one or two games. And I start writing this book, and I'm like, there were 3 people in the book that I wrote about that I was like, how am I not like still close to these people? Like they made an impact on my life. And I got so busy and I got so caught up in climbing the ladder that I forgot about them, And Bull Corey was one of those people, because I write about us hanging. I smoked weed on Willie Nelson's bus with Willie. If you're still hanging on here, I've always hinted about it, but that's what happened. Pootie Lock, Willie's like, at the time, the late Pootie Lock was his tour guy, and and they were all protective of Willie. And then you meet Willie, and Willie's the coolest MFer ever. Like ever. Like just I'm backstage. I'm actually sitting on the stage. Willie stops in the middle of playing a song. There's like a guitar solo or a piano solo, and we take a picture together. And Timmons, I'm so high that my eyeballs look like this with Willie.
That's the exact opposite of what my eyes do, and I guess.
Yeah, no, I was like this. That wasn't like this. I guess it's just the Willie weed, right? And anyway, so we were so connected with our friendship with Bull, and then man, but I don't know, man. Like I've never missed anybody as much, man, like friendship wise. Like, and I guess the other part of it is that our audience is the best, and we've like climbed, man. Like we're climbing, like people, the people that watch our shows, the people that I run into, they really care, man. Like I run into people all the time. And they're like, man, like, hey, thinking about Big Sexy, Mick, like doing shows, like, hey, when I do live shows, like, because they know that it was tough, and that I loved them, and they loved them too, and you loved them too, and it's like, man, just kind of dealing with that loss has been, in a weird way, it's been a blessing, because I appreciate people a hell of a lot more than I did before.
Yeah.
I appreciate the people in my life that are good to me because I just don't, I don't, he knew I loved him. I mean, I think I told him when I got off the phone that day. And it wasn't like out of habit. It was just out of like, hey man, like he was telling me these crazy stories about meeting Bull in his dreams and stuff. And I'm like, hey, I love you, brother. Like, not thinking that we were never going to talk again. But me going through a depression and being able to talk to other people that deal with depression and say the way that I got through it, and anybody that was around me, the people that were around me every day never saw me like that because I've never been like that before. Couldn't get out of bed, man. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I'm quiet. I'm moping, like I'm crying. And you know this, Timmons, we talked about this all the time. Driving in the car, bawling, like regretful, and all this stuff. And I had to just one day, I just had to say, got to get over this, and I think that's why I wanted to do this show, just because, here 2 hours and 20 minutes in, a lot of people go through stuff like this. It's just, it might be, I've talked to people about it because it's been such an impactful thing in my life. Like my dad died, and one of my friends was telling me my dad died, and he's, I idolized my dad and never thought that it would happen. And I went into a depression, sometimes it's like a relationship doesn't work out and you really wanted it to, and you were in love with somebody and the depression, you lose a job, you're like, I had a dog die, and I absolutely loved this dog, and it's the closest thing that I ever had to this, but this was so much more, and it's like you deal with it, you deal with the pain. I got to the point where I couldn't cry anymore, and I'm just like, I have to let you go. And I gave you 6 strong months or 6 strong weeks of just depression. And I'm still, like you, man, I'm still fucking tore up, dude. Like I mean, even here right now, talking about it, like thinking that it was a year ago today. And I miss him so much, but I'm grateful for your friendship, to be honest with you. I tell you that, dude. I swear to God.
I feel the same. It's one of those things that, through a tragedy, Brett brought us together, right? So that's a friendship now that, we wouldn't have without him. And, well, sure as hell wouldn't have a radio station.
Yeah. Now you own his radio station.
I know. Sometimes I don't know why. I'd much rather have him. Rather have him. Would rather be working with him. But again, you've helped me out a lot. You've helped me out. You've helped the radio station out a lot. We probably wouldn't still be here without some of the advice you've given me. So again, I bring it back to doing what we, what he would want us to do, or doing what he would be wanting to do. And that's the way we find our our way to get through it, and
I'm gonna tell
deal with the tragedy.
There's a couple jokes I'm gonna tell you because we got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
This is the first one. One time Brett was calling me to talk about a family issue that he was dealing with. And it was serious, and I had no clue, dude, like how to address this. And I want to kind of rewind a second. Like, do I have any of these? Yeah, this is it right here. So these tailgate show hats were made in Jasper, which I think they did it. I love this one.
That's great. Yeah.
But the lady that this, like, I got one like this, and then I got a batch of them, and they were terrible, horseshit, man. And Brett, I mean, awful. Okay, and Brett met me at Pearl River Resort to go see like a concert or something, and I'm like, hey, got these hats. and he pulls them out, and it looked like a third grader made them. I was like, I said, Brett, you're taking them motherfuckers back. I don't want these. I do not want these. I'm not accepting this shipment. And he's like, you're right, man. You know, like, you're right. These are not good. I guess the lady that it's a small business, and the lady that did those, which were great, wasn't the lady that did the other ones. And look, man, it was like that hat right there is, I'd say it's a, A or a B. I like it. They were like G's, like they're below F's. They were terrible. So Brett goes back, and I guess he had talked about it a little bit around Jasper, and so he was friends with one of the girls that worked there, and apparently he had tried to hire her to be at JLX, and the owner of this place was so angry at Brett and spent $500 on Jasper Vikings football. $500. And Brett was like,
deal, man. It's still a big deal.
So she wants to talk to him, and he's scared to death.
Yeah.
Because she just is like, she finally like runs into him. He's got to get these hats, and they're redoing them, and they actually they fixed them, and they were fantastic. Okay, the right lady made them. Okay, right. So it wasn't like they sent them to the junior high school to be made. Like, it was like the main hat maker made these, and so we got them, and he went to pick them up, and this lady that owned the place was like, just in his ass. Okay, and you probably know who I'm talking about because you live there, right? I don't.
I don't. I'm for transparency's sake, I have no idea, honestly.
Okay. So but anyway, so he's telling me this, right? He's like, she's just like in him. How'd you talk about these hats like this and spreading this rumor around town that we don't do good work, and all this stuff, right? And I'm thinking Brett should have just pulled out one of those old hats and been like, "Is this? Would you want me to give this hat to somebody?" But he didn't. Yeah, right. See, he didn't want to do that. So he was scared. So she's in the middle of just like dressing him down. He looks at her and he goes, "Is this a bad time to ask about your advertising?"
Because everybody always owed him money.
Oh my God, dude! Like, that is so him, man. Like, so with that said, one day it's just honestly, it wasn't really. It was probably 2 or 3 weeks before he died. Like, he's talking about this, and and I'm like, man, I don't really know what to say. Right. Because I'm thinking to myself, like, this is a pretty deep conversation, and I don't really have the right answer. And he's talking about this situation, and it's not good. And I'm like, I just remember sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, like, I gotta calm him down. So I go, I hadn't got these hats back yet. So I go, "Hey, is this a bad time to ask about those hats?" And he got real quiet. And then he just lost it. And then I said to him, the advice I gave him, you know what I mean? Like, where it was like, it basically just like, I'm going to give you my advice on this, but I'm going to get you to kind of take a deep breath, And I love that. It's totally when that
tough doing business in a small town, man.
God, man. We went to he took me for my birthday. He took me out. Best steak dinner ever. The two of us, like, I mean, look, the guy knew how to eat, and he's like, we're upsizing everything. We're getting mushrooms. We're getting everything that comes, the special butter, we got that, like all that stuff, right? So for his birthday, I took him to Dead and Company. That's where I got the shirt from.
Yeah.
And we had a blast, man. Like, it was the best time in Vegas.
We were talking about Vegas this morning. We were talking about that Vegas trip.
Yeah, dude. I was so afraid. Let me tell you this, Timmons.
Go ahead.
And hold it. Just hold it. It was so damn hot that day in Vegas, right? And Brett kept asking me how hot it was. I'm like, it's not that bad out here, because I didn't want him to cancel. Because I got there first. So he gets there, he's like, it's really hot. Like, he's talking about how hot it is. I go, well, you ask me how hot it was. It's hot, but it's not as hot as it is when you get cremated. And he was already there, so he couldn't leave.
So we had a friend, a mutual friend of ours was in studio today doing the morning show with me and the host we got, and then we got done with the show, and he's like, is there a lighter around here? He smokes cigarettes. I was like, man, I don't think so, but there is a box of all of Brett's stuff that I went through a few months ago, and I set it back there, and there was a matchbook from Vegas, right? So I was like, let's go back. I was like, you got to go back there and find it. I was dealing with power outage we had at the time. So he's like, I can't find it, Timmons. I can't find it. So I was like, let me go back there and find it. So I start going through the box of Brett's stuff again. And I'm going through there and I'm going through there. I was like, I just start laughing. I'm like, they're like, what? They're like, what? I was like, I didn't find the matches, but I found Brett's flyers for the prostitutes he picked up off the street. You know what? Those like prostitute cards.
Go here.
He brought them.
Here.
He brought them home with him. That was some of his. Yeah, exactly. If anybody's been to Vegas, it's nothing shady about that. You're just going to get them handed to you wherever you go.
No, you get it handed to you.
But he brought it back.
I was out there last week for the Eagles, and I was like, this would have been such more his speed than mine. Like, and I loved it. Like, and I saw him and I saw the Eagles, and I saw Rod Stewart, and he would have loved both of those. I used to ask him about programming JLX, because I was like, this station's programmed perfectly.
Oh, it is.
And I'm like, well, I'd ask him about, because I could just sit there and listen to the music all day. Like, it's, and he's like, what's this? But they'd be on there, Yeah. It's like rock, but it's also like yacht rock and classic rock all kind of mixed together. God, that dude was just, I miss him. And that's why, like I said, man, that's why I wanted to do this show. So I don't know how many people are here for an hour and 31 minutes, or
probably not many.
We'll run but we did it.
Clip the highlights, Mick. You're good at that.
Yeah, I don't care. You know what? If you don't want to watch this, if you're here, you've already watched it, so you're in with us. So if you made it this far,
yeah,
and hopefully, like Brett's friends found this, because I know all of those guys are probably feeling like me right now. And you, Timmons. It's like just there's just a hole, man. There's a hole there that we're never going to be able to fill, because that's how special Brett was.
Right. And it's cheers to our buddy, man.
Cheers, all you guys that made it. Thank you. Please comment in the comment section. I want to thank all the people that realized what I was going through and got my back, because there's some of you guys that did probably way more than you needed to, or that you should have, but you did. And I appreciate you so much, and I love you guys. And I know that this is like, I love talking Alabama football. It's a passion, but when you see somebody that's like, that you feel like, hey man, maybe I could make a difference in their life, make it. Because the worst thing that you have is regret when you can't go back and fix it, and I think that's kind of where I wanted to kind of end things today, and I'm going to try my best to be better at doing that and helping people, and I've already done that some, and and I hope all you guys do too. But man, I miss this guy enormously. And I wish I could have got him to eat one of those cicadas. I wish I could have went to one night at the booby trap with him. He was trying to get, he was trying to get me to buy the booby trap with him. Seriously.
See, that's another business venture I'd have been interested. I'd rather been a part owner in the booby trap than the owner of the radio station.
He was trying to get me to do that too, man. Like that's how I like with Timmons will tell you, like I knew more about the business, the guys that worked there, because he kept trying to talk me into doing it. I was like, Jasper's a hard spot to get to from Fairhope, but we were talking about buying some stations here in Tennessee where I'm at a lot.
I know.
Yeah. So anyway, any final thoughts?
Nah, man. Thanks again for inviting me on, and like I say, I appreciate your friendship. Appreciate you always talking to me and providing that advice when I needed it for the radio station. And if anybody wants to explore more of the Brett Elmore life, I mean, like I say, if you can go find him on all of the WJLX stuff. He's out there still, and I'm glad we have him. I wish
we could have we had all those old Bull Corey Outlaw Country shows.
I have some.
Put them up.
I'll try and send you those links. I found them on one of our streaming platforms. Not many of them, but there's a few there.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and Roll Tide, everybody.